Clara Okafor was the kind of woman everyone envied. At 28, she had a luxurious apartment in Victoria Island, Lagos, a fancy car, and a wardrobe that could make any socialite jealous. On Instagram, her life looked perfect: expensive dinners, weekend getaways, and endless smiles. Everyone admired her. But beneath the smiles and designer shoes, Clara felt empty. Her mornings were always the same. She drove through the busy Lagos traffic, ignoring the street hawkers who greeted her politely, the bus drivers trying to help her cross roads, and even the office security man who always smiled at her. Clara didn't see them. She thought they were irrelevant to her high-flying life. It was at her office in Lekki, a growing tech company, that God placed someone in her path. His name was Samuel. He was a young, humble man, freshly employed as an assistant. He was not flashy, did not wear expensive suits, and did not have a loud voice. But there was something about him that made people trust him instantly. Samuel noticed everything: the small mistakes in her reports, the overlooked gaps in her business plans, and even the way she pushed people aside to look busy and important. One Monday morning, as Clara rushed into her office, her heels clicking against the polished floor, Samuel approached her with a folder in hand. "Good morning, Ma. I noticed a few gaps in the new project report. If you allow me, I can make corrections before we submit it," he said politely. Clara barely glanced at him. "Samuel, thank you, but I have everything under control. I don't need your help." Samuel's smile did not fade. "I just want to help, Ma. Sometimes, God sends people into our lives to guide us." Clara laughed softly, shaking her head. "God? Guide me? Please, Samuel, I don't need lessons. I know what I am doing." Days turned into weeks. Samuel continued to help quietly, offering advice, correcting small mistakes, and showing her small shortcuts to success. But Clara ignored him. She was too busy attending cocktail parties in Victoria Island, taking selfies by the Lekki Lagoon, and posting her luxurious lifestyle on social media. She had convinced herself she didn't need anyone. Outside work, Clara's life seemed perfect. She dined at rooftop restaurants, attended fashion shows, and traveled to Abuja and Port Harcourt for business. Yet, deep in her heart, she felt a silent emptiness. Sometimes, late at night, she whispered a prayer: "Lord, guide me. I feel lost." But she didn't really expect an answer. She thought her life was too perfect to need guidance. One evening, Samuel stayed behind to remind her about a looming deadline. "Ma, the investors will need the corrected report by tomorrow morning," he said gently. Clara sighed impatiently. "Samuel, I said I have it handled. Don't bother me." Samuel's eyes held a flicker of sadness. "Ma, sometimes, God places people in our lives for a reason. I just hope you can see it before it's too late." Clara did not answer. She left the office, her heels clicking on the floor, her mind already on a party she was attending that night. She didn't see that Samuel had been more than just a helpful employee; he had been a destiny helper. God had placed him in her path to save her from mistakes she could not yet see. But Clara's pride, ambition, and obsession with appearances blinded her. She ignored the signs, and the consequences would soon follow. Weeks passed, and Clara's arrogance only grew. She dismissed advice, ignored warnings, and pushed away the people God placed to guide her. She thought she had life under control, but God was preparing a storm, a lesson she would never forget. The first sign came quietly: a small investor backed out of a project, citing doubts about management. Clara waved it off, confident that she could handle it herself. The second sign was her team quietly whispering about her mistakes, but she ignored them. She believed her charm and status could cover any fault. Little did Clara know, ignoring Samuel and the guidance he offered was a rejection not just of a person, but of God's hand in her life. And soon, Her world, the world she had built so carefully with pride, would begin to crumble. The first crack in Clara's perfect life came on a rainy Thursday morning. She arrived at the office to find a group of people in the boardroom. The air was heavy, and the usual cheerful greetings were gone. Her boss, Mr. Ajayi, motioned for her to sit down. "Clara," he began, his voice calm but firm, "we've reviewed the last project reports. There are several mistakes, serious ones, that have already cost us a major client." Clara's heart skipped. "That can't be possible," she said quickly. "I worked on those reports myself." Mr. Ajayi sighed. "Someone actually tried to bring them to your attention more than once. But you brushed him off." Her cheeks burned. She glanced at Samuel, who sat quietly in the corner. He wasn't smiling this time. He just looked sad. The meeting ended with Clara being given 1 week to fix the mess. 1 week to repair damage that could ruin her professional reputation. That evening, she sat alone in her apartment, staring at the Lagos skyline. The lights of Victoria Island twinkled like gold dust in the distance, but she felt none of their charm. For the first time, the emptiness inside her felt like a heavy stone. Her phone buzzed. It was an invitation to a fashion show. Normally, she would have jumped at the chance to dress up and be seen. But tonight, she declined. She just sat there, the silence of her apartment louder than any party music. The next day, someone knocked on her office door. "Ma, if you let me, I can work with you over the weekend to fix the report," he offered. Clara hesitated. Something inside her wanted to say yes, but pride rose up like a wall. "Samuel, I'll handle it myself," she replied, her tone softer this time. Samuel nodded and left. But as the days passed, Clara realized she was drowning. No matter how hard she worked, she couldn't undo all the errors alone. By Tuesday, the board had lost patience. The project was officially cancelled. The company lost millions, and Clara's name was at the center of the failure. Things spiraled from there. One by one, her business contacts stopped returning her calls. Invitations to exclusive events slowed. On Instagram, likes on her photos dropped. She noticed whispers when she walked into meetings. It wasn't long before her boss called her in again. "Clara," he said gently, "we've decided to let you go. You're talented, but you've refused guidance. That makes it hard to trust your leadership." The words cut deep. She walked out of the office for the last time, passing Samuel in the hallway. He didn't say, "I told you so." He simply said, "I'm sorry, Ma. I really wanted to help." That night, Clara cried for the first time in years. She cried for her lost job, her crumbling image, and the people she had pushed away. But mostly, she cried because she finally saw the truth. Samuel had been sent by God to help her, and she had rejected him. She remembered his words, "Sometimes, God places people in our lives for a reason. I just hope you can see it before it's too late." It was too late. Weeks passed. Clara sold her fancy car to cover her bills. She moved from her luxurious apartment to a smaller place in Suralaya. Many of her so-called friends disappeared when she stopped paying for dinners and parties. One Sunday, she decided to attend church for the first time in years. She sat at the back, her head low, listening as the pastor spoke. God's helpers don't always come in the package you expect. Sometimes they look ordinary, humble, or even beneath your notice. But they carry the wisdom you need to save you from disaster. Pride blinds us to God's help. Clara's tears flowed freely. She didn't care who saw. She knew the sermon was for her. The following week, Clara found Samuel's number in her phone. She hesitated before calling. When he answered, she said, "Samuel, I owe you an apology. I didn't see who you were, or why God sent you. I pushed you away, and I paid the price." Samuel's voice was kind. "Ma, it's okay. Sometimes God allows us to fall so we can learn to depend on Him. Clara didn't get her old job back, but she found a new one, less glamorous, less pay, but full of meaning. She learned to greet the street hawkers, to thank the bus drivers, to notice the small kindnesses around her. And every time she met someone new, she remembered the lesson that changed her life. Destiny helpers don't always look important. Sometimes, they are the quiet voices we ignore, until the day we wish we had listened. Have you ever met someone who turned out to be your own destiny helper? Type yes in the comments if you believe God sends people for a reason. And if this story inspired you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so someone else can be encouraged too. Thank you.